I don't quite understand it. I mean, I saw this tweet earlier on today, and I don't really know who this guy is. A lot of people I know follow him, talking about how all signs point to it. The personal terms have been agreed. Arsenal are really going to push on forward with this deal, but I just don't know. I think Arsenal need that additional midfielder, and you've got the Yuri Tillemans money and the Rafinha money seemingly there, which is what collectively anywhere between 80 to 90 million pounds. Like, are you expecting that to still be spent somewhere in that region, to still be spent on players?
Yeah, somewhere around there. I do think that, I had a long stream about the midfield because it's definitely a position that I do think a lot of Arsenal fans are prioritizing even over an attacker. Now, I do think you have to get both or the window is a dud. You have to get a midfielder and an attacker. But the midfielder situation, I do think, is somewhat of a game. David Ornstein has said that we may need to sell a player. Nobody's really said that our interest is gone. Now Leicester coming out with this stuff about maybe him potentially staying. So for me, it looks a lot like, Arsenal are trying to play the long game, in terms of trying to get the price down as much as possible with Yuri Tielemans. We also may need to sell a player or something like that, or at least sell a midfielder. We have Lucas Torreira back. We also have Ainsley Maitland-Niles. Both of them kind of play in midfield, so maybe one of them have to go in order for us to open up that spot in the team, because we definitely have too many players in that roster. But with Tielemans, I do think that, like, if he were to stay at Leicester and we were not to get a midfielder, it would smell. Like, it really would. I'd be like, oof, that's just not. We don't have enough midfielders or enough quality in midfield. We have bodies, but we don't have enough quality. So I'd like to see it get done. But I do think Arsenal are saving quite a bit of money for an attacker. Like, that has been, reported by, like, at least Fabrizio Romano is saying that he thinks that we'll go after an attacker first. And then maybe depending on who we go after will, make a difference in terms of if we go after Yuri Tielemans or not, depending on how much money is left. Is that the way I'd prioritize things? Probably not. But when you look at our attack and you look at our midfield, I can see where Arsenal is probably looking at, like, okay, you have Gabriel Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, Emile Smith-Rowe, and Nketiah versus, Partey, Xhaka, Vieira, Odegaard, now Zinchenko. Which position looks like it needs more reinforcement? On paper, it looks like attack, but for a lot of Arsenal fans, it's definitely midfield for obvious reasons.
Yeah, when Fabrizio said you'll go for a winger then a midfielder, that makes sense because you called the interest on Yuri Tillemans to try and buy Rafinha. So it would make chronological sense to go for another wide player. I do think what's interesting as well, though, with Arsenal, and all of our clubs can have stings in the towels in a window. It's another day where Gabriel, I always forget how to pronounce his surname, your centre-back, how
Magalhaes.
yeah, I've really struggled. How he, again linked with the move away. Not Arsenal wanting to sell or him wanting to leave, but clubs wanting to buy him. And I kind of, this is, again, I think like this, and I know Arsenal fans don't like the conversation. I've noticed with the transfer window, so with Terry, just do transfers that are positive for the top six fan bases, and they don't even like listening to them anymore. But there is also this element of, if a giant club comes in with a giant offer for him as a centre back, that could be an area that you then need to go and work on. You've been linked to some other centre backs out there as well. But barring that happening, you've got to go for a winger and you've got to go for a midfielder, because you've basically, your club's told the fans the money's there. And we know that Yuri Tillemans has been a massive target. Paqueta is also available. So the two main targets are there. They're buyable. There's no reason not to buy them. When it comes to that inside forward, though, that's the big question. Like, we've got him on the thumb now again, because it's another day where more talk across social media is Leroy Sané, Leroy Sané, Leroy Sané, Leroy Sané. So I wanted to ask you your opinion. Can you see Arsenal pulling off a deal for the Bayern winger, essentially?
I haven't seen not one reliable report on this yet. I've seen Arsenal are one of many clubs that are monitoring the situation, but I haven't really seen anything concrete. I do think Arsenal fans want to see a player of that quality come in. We saw what happened with Gnabry. It was very much like, that's the player we should go after because they're seemingly available. Just because somebody's available in our eyesight doesn't mean they're actually available to us. And so with Leroy Sané, the only thing that I really saw was that his agent offered him to Real Madrid. He may not be happy there, but I don't necessarily think one equals another, that if somebody's not happy, that automatically means that they end up at Arsenal. So do I think we have the money, to get something like that done? Probably. Do I think we can pull it off? Probably not. I think Leroy Sané may just be a little bit out of our league at the moment. But when I look at the market in terms of wingers / attackers, it's not great. You had Gnabry, he re-signed. Leroy Sané looks like he might be available. He might be out of our league. So, like, who else is actually out there that's going to make that type of difference? That's why I was big about pushing for Rafinha, is that I thought he could step straight in and make a difference. The last thing you want to do is spend 30, 40 million on a guy that's not going to be able to get in the team over Martinelli. So it's a strange situation. People are assuming that there's a winger target that none of us really know about. I just hope it's somebody that, who could it possibly be? We all know who's out there. Who could it possibly be?
Well,
Nobody
do,
knows.
do
It's
you know what?
weird.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of clubs do this where their fans go, I think it's like a secret unknown player. What you mean is you can't think who it could be. So you're just saying it's a secret. I mean, there's great talented, not great yet, great talent at Crystal Palace, as an example. There's some of the lags there, the essays of this world, who could be good. There's young talent around. There's Anthony of Ajax that we're going to talk about later, or we might as well now, that Man United are looking at, and there's reports today of a new bid for him, maybe including Ethan Laird. And I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that the reports have come out from credible sources that Ethan Laird is wanted, and then other outlets have gone with, Man United could make an offer plus the player.
KJ.
Well, KJ's crying KJ be crying at this news because he loves Ethan Laird. I mean, he's never watched Ethan Laird play. Ignores all the problems that he's got and injury concerns, but just loves him. It's just, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I'm sad at the thought, KJ said backstage. But yeah, look, I think that's the thing. If there isn't someone of ample quality, what you don't want to do as Arsenal is spend 70 million on Pepe 2.0. However, if the money's there are other areas of your team that you could then spend that money on. And I think that I've made that point with Man United, and I'll keep that energy for other clubs. It isn't a case of, I get the notion of, if we've got to wait, say Ten Hag says, we're going to wait a year and then we'll get De Jong. I'm happy with that, as long as that money we'd have spent on him we spend on another position. This is hypothetical based on who we've been linked to, but say we then went and spent that money on a cross between Anthony and or Hakimi to improve those areas, you'd go, well, we've still improved with a top class player, a problem area within our team. I'm happy with that. Where it becomes contentious is when teams go, we're going to save that money until later, and then you don't spend it on anybody. Because when a year's time, there'd be more money to spend on other players. So spend some now. It's okay if it's Liverpool or your City and your squad's stacked and it's in a great position and you're literally waiting on that. You're waiting on Jude Bellingham. Liverpool can wait for Jude Bellingham to a degree. They're not going to win the league without him this year, I don't think, because City have done so well. But they can afford to wait to a degree, because how much money do they really need to spend elsewhere in their team? Their team's really good. When you're Man United, when you're Arsenal, it's like, listen, we've got problems in 2 or 3 areas that could be improved. Let's spend some goddamn money, and let's get it done. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how that kind of works out for Arsenal. But as I've said before, I think you've had a really good start. We're 2/3 of the way through. 2/3 into the summer, really good signings. You've looked really good I think you've looked really good in pre-season as well. I haven't been able to do reviews on the games because
I was like, you watched our game?
I watch all of the top 6 as much as I can because I cover you all.
Oh, I didn't know you watched our preseason game.
I watch everything. Of course, this is my job. Imagine not being dedicated to your job. What kind of weak man does that? I'm more, barring my kids. Nothing in my life gets more attention than my job, barring my kids. That. This is it. Any grown man my age that spends more time in the pub than working is a bad person. I ain't joking. I ain't joking. But yeah, you guys have looked good. You must be getting a sense of confidence because Arsenal fans are. You just did. I know how you guys are gassed and excited. You did record 1 day sales for your new away kit.
We
It's the
always
most.
do it. We always buy the kits, man. We
No,
always buy the
no,
kits.
no.
Rain
Let me
or
rephrase that.
shine.
Now, let me rephrase this. The best single day sales of a kit in the history of Arsenal Football Club.
I
So
mean, it's a nice kit.
it is a nice kit, actually. It does look very, very nice. I don't do kit reviews. That's another thing I find weird on socials, like grown men reviewing kits. I don't get it. It's not for me. Each to their own, though. I don't like anime or wrestling either, but there we go. That's just me. But you, Arsenal fan, I know you are, and I know you like to hold back, and I know you get a lot of splinters in your backside because you sit on the fence. But there is a real sense of togetherness, happiness, and excitement about this new season, isn't there?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think we kind of talked about this last season that this is the first group in like 5 years that any of us can say that we've actually liked. So it's a really likable group, and everybody, by all accounts, seems to be happy and on board with what's going on. Seeing somebody like Saliba and the team, I think, has given people a little pep in their step because obviously that's a huge thing. He still needs to sign a new deal. We're still not quite over the line with that. But just seeing him in the team and playing well, I do think has made people feel like, oh, wow, this is looking good. Obviously, Saka's contract is important, but that looks like it's moving in a positive direction, which is good. So, yeah, I mean, obviously we capitulated at the end of last season, and it would be nice to be talking about something other than Europa League. But we know we're building towards something positive. We can see the direction that we're trying to go in. So I think ultimately when you can see where you're trying to go and the players that you're bringing in make sense, they seem happy to be there. You can't help but feel like, okay, I'm excited for the season. This season for me is all about playing good football, scoring more goals, getting more points, and really trying to push, for the top four. Again, that's where I kind of think we are at. Maybe win a trophy. And I think that's all within our grasp. I don't think it's like far-fetched to really think about those things. So yeah, I am excited about the new season. I'm always excited about the new season. That's just what being a fan is like, right? I think even like Everton fans and fans that don't have great teams are always a little bit excited inside, right? So it is what it is. But we do look okay in preseason. I still have some concerns. We have some injury prone players that are starting to really piss me off. But other than that, looking all right. Looking all right.